Hey guys, thanks for joining me. And if you like what you see, please subscribe.
Hello, peoples. Welcome to Sharp Ends. So today I've got kind of a big concept here, but it's a video that's also been done by other people, and that is my most recommended knives. And I'm going to go through this in budget form. So my up to $50, between 50 and 100, between 100 and 150, 150 and 200, and then 200 and above. And this is knives that I have recommended to people who I know in the camping world, sailing world, or just in general who aren't necessarily knife collectors like I am, but are asking for a certain kind of knife. And these are the knives that I have recommended the most. Okay, so in the $0 to $50 range, I've in general, if someone's looking for a fixed blade or something like that, I've been telling people to get the Hultafors knife here. I think this is $17, or to get a more a companion or robust. A lot of people like whether you like the robust or the companion. The robust is just a little bit thicker, the companion is a little bit thinner, but everyone should have one kicking around. They're between $12 and $14, and these are great little fixed blades. You can do a lot with them. They're not full tang necessarily, but they're things that you should have around. And then the rat number one. Rat number two, you can get just under $50 in D2. This has fancy scales on it, so ignore that. But the D2 is Rat Ontario number two is still a very solid knife, and it has way overbuilt sandwich construction, but it's got these four pillars in the back here, and it's the way that the liner lock works. It's made to fail, and if it fails, then it's going to become a fixed blade. It's not going to close on you, which it's just a very all-around good safe knife to take around. I would never say that you should baton on this, but there you go. More of a full-size knife, which I really like, is a Sencut Serene. Very flat, thin behind the edge, tall. It is D2, but it's a button lock, and it's a really good entry-level button lock. A lot of people like button locks, and for good reason. And it's got a flipper tab too. And if you're learning how to flip, this knife has really good geometry, and it works really well for that. So the Sencut Serene, I think, is a great knife in that range. Just under $50 also is the Centurion from my Magurin. I don't think it got enough love, but under $50, milled clip, really nicely textured handles here. It looks like a knife. You can choke up really nicely on it. It's a nice full-size knife. Liner lock is really well done. The machining on this is excellent. The action is great. Again, it's a flipper knife, but the action is good enough so the studs work really well for both finger flicking and thumb flicking. And it's 14C 28N. Absolutely a screaming steal in my estimation. The Pyrite, awesome knife. CJRB, great knife. This happens to be a fancy scale, so ignore that. But this knife is more of a utility knife, so I've recommended this for people who want a knife that they're going to be using more in opening box type setting. And then on that same thing is the Magurin Kyrix, which I just got recently. Well, I've reviewed it already, but again, very nice milled clip, great shape, 14C28N, all around just phenomenal. And for me, I actually think it's better than the Pyrite, and so I've been recommending this more than the Pyrite. So that's the 0 to 50 range, or I should say this is like the $16 to $49 range. So I'm going to put those away right now. And again, that was the Kyrix, the Pyrite, the Centurion, the Sencut Serene, and then the D2 R2D2 from Ontario Knife Company, and the more on the Hultafors. And then next, for the $50 to $100 range, I've got four knives for you. The Echo comes in just over $50, and I think it's a great knife, a good utility knife. It's nice, heavy in the hand. It's made by a designer who I love, who's Ray Laconico. And actually, I just realized that the other knife that I have here is kind of a smaller knife, but a gentleman's knife. So if someone wants a knife that they can carry around, they just want something, is the Mini Caviso. This is also Ray Laconico, 14C28N. I think it's $65. Really good action, very nice and just sexy. It's low key. It's not going to threaten the lunch lady. This is a good knife to have around. And then for the fixed blade for this portion, I would say the Frontier Trapper, just under $100. Depends on what steel you get. I think you could probably spend just over $100. So maybe this goes into the next category too. But I got this for 95 with the sheath. Very good little fixed blade. And then the Bush Baby. These are both by LT Wright. This is high carbon steel, so it's been acid etched on the handle. But again, a great little fixed blade for camping if you're going to be taking that out, or hunting or fishing or whatever. Just really, really great. These steels, this is A2, and that is and this is high carbon, but they do make this in AEBL and some other steels too. So sometimes the price fluctuates on that, and they're not always available. But in general, they are, they're still being made, and you can get them if you look out for them. And they're just under $100. I think they're probably some of the best deals you can get for a little fixed blade. So again, for $50 to $100, the Echo, the Mini Caviso, the Frontier Trapper by LT Wright, and also from LT Wright, the Bush Baby, I think are phenomenal knives to get in that price range. And I have recommended. And then from the 100 to the 150, I have 3 different knives. One is the Hogue Deca 2, made in America. Awesome, awesome knife. This has fancy scales on it, but the Hogue Deca Magna Cut, great liner lock. I think it's better than the Bug Out. I think it's nice and light. You can carry this on you wherever you go. It has several different blade shapes, so if you don't like this reverse Tonto, don't worry about that. I think it comes in around 125, 130, something like that. Absolutely great. And then at this range, you can start to get the 80 20.5. Ignore this fancy the fancy scales and the handle, but on DLT right now, I think you can get one for $111. It's the OS 10 version, but the Shark Lock is incredible, and a lot of my friends use this knife. I have like 3 or 4 friends who now carry this knife because of my recommendation, and they use it all the time. They love that they can open it with one hand very easily with a Shark Lock, stays sharp forever. This happens to be the D2 version, but you can spend more and get different knife steel versions of that very easily. And then this is the range where Spyderco starts to come into its own. The Andela, the Endura, all those things. The lightweight ones, the Para 3, $100 to $150. You can start to get into the cheaper Spydercos. There is a Tenacious, which is in the less than $100 range, but I usually don't recommend that because it's 8 CRB 2016, whatever, the Alphabet Soup steel, which I don't necessarily think is the greatest, although it's fine for most people. I do have a friend who carries one, and it's a knife that he can lose and not feel bad about, but still is a good knife. But the Spydercos come in right there, and that's actually my stepping stone into getting more expensive knives, was eventually getting the Spyderco Andela, I think, or it was the Endura. Andela or Endura, I can't remember which one. But this knife right here, this is one of my oldest knives in my collection, and for a good reason. It's a great knife still. So the Spyderco, the 80 20.5 from Demko, and then the Hogue Deca 2. Great choices for that range. I don't have a fixed blade for that range, but I will say that these kind of sneak in there because they're right at $95, $99 in some of the versions, some of the steels for the Frontier Trapper and for the Bush Baby, the LT, right? They get into the 110, 112 version, depending on where you get it and how you get it. All right, so 150 to 200. This is the range, and some of these might be just a little bit over 200, but this is basically the range where you can get for just under $200, maybe not this version, but the Quiet Carry and Vanex Waypoint, which is the last time I picked my favorite knife, it was this knife. Hollow grind, Vanex stays sharp forever. Action is absolutely incredible. This is a knife, if I had to pick one knife and only carry one for the rest of my life, it probably would be this. The ergos on it are great. It never rusts. I've put it through so much in saltwater, lakes. It's been on my life jacket. It cuts super, super nice. I just can't get over. I mean, it looks super simple. It is super simple, but it is a phenomenal knife, and it's one that I always recommend to anyone who's into boating at all. This is what you should get. Skip over the salt, skip over everything else. This knife right here, the Waypoint, is where it's at. Quiet Carry Waypoint. I urge you to get one. No matter what, you will not be sad that you got this knife. And if you are, I'm sorry. Send it to me. I'll give it a good home. And then the Spyderco Paramilitary 2, somewhere up there. Anything that has the back lock or the compression lock on the back here. This version obviously is much more expensive than $200, but you can get into the category. You can start getting a nice Paramilitary 2 for around $200, and even less than that if you're willing to skimp on the steel or get the lightweight version or other things. But the Paramilitary 2 is a classic design and it's great, and I've definitely told people if they want to step up their Spyderco game, the next thing they need to get is a Paramilitary 2. And then the LT Wright daily carry. This is I had this sheath made, this Kydex sheath made, but this thing just disappears in the pocket. Really easy to sharpen, to use. This is AEBL, so it's stainless. Takes a really fine edge. This was the DLT exclusive. If you can find one, pick it up. Make yourself a custom Kydex sheath. You're going to thank me for it. This thing is absolutely phenomenal and by pocket all the time. And whenever I lend it to a friend when I'm working, they absolutely go ape shit for it. So those are my three suggestions for just under $200. The daily carry from LT Wright, Spyderco Paramilitary 2, and this is my number one suggestion for anyone willing to spend $200 would definitely be the Waypoint Quiet Carry, that Super Van X. Phenomenal knife. All right, and now this above 200. I don't really recommend knives above 200 because most people who don't know much about knives are never going to be willing to spend that much. But for you, the people who have made it to the end of my video, these are some of my favorite knives for over 200. I really love the Pulsar. You know, the Padre, the Kunwu has the Padre, and they also have the Django. Django is super sexy. That DLC, this polished DLC is super sexy, but this is such a practical shape to this blade. I use it all the time. I love the colorways on it. It's going to be hard for you to find, but not that hard. You should be able to, if you start looking for one now, the next few months, you should be able to find one. But the Pulsar L-Max steel, great blade shape. It's my favorite Kunwu knife because it's just so practical. The action is great. I just absolutely love this knife. And then the Skaha 2. I think it comes in, this Canadian made. You have to get on a little bit of a wait list for it. They have better sheaths now. I've had this for a really long time, but the action, the sound, listen to the sound. Oh yeah, baby. The everything about this knife is super practical, falls shut. It's a great hunting knife. It's a knife that works very thin behind the edge. This is made of Magna Cut. The finish on the blade is very nice, although you can see that I've sharpened a pencil with it recently. Just everything about this knife is great. Absolutely love it. And then if I'm going to be recommending something over $200 in the fixed blade realm, I'm going to tell people that they should probably get the LT Wright. This is right at 200, maybe even a little bit less depending on the steel, but the LT Wright Genesis 2, freaking awesome Scandi grind. This thing is a beast. Will process wood forever. I'll own this knife the rest of my life, and it will always be useful. The Bravo 1, this one happens to be Magna Cut, again somewhere right around $200. But you know, Bark River, another great company. I think some people still think that they have QC problems, quality control, but I don't. I haven't had a problem with them, and I love the ergonomics of the Bravo 1 that has a convex grind, so it not only processes wood, but it's also good in the kitchen. This is the LT version, so it's a little bit thinner behind the edge. So yeah, I would say Bravo 1 LT. And then finally, the Creeley Mako. He makes specialty steels, and you can get them in Rex, what is it, Rex 121, whatever it is. This happens to be Magna Cut. He has a waiting list for it, but Creeley is a great guy. This in-pocket sheath that he sends these with a built-in ulti-clip, I mean, this is maybe the best sheath I've ever received out of the box. This knife fits in the hand super well. Nice and small, skinny. It'll do everything. This is an everyday carry little pocket knife, straight a fixed blade knife, and this, I can't recommend it highly enough. All right, so those are my choices, and if I was going to choose one from each one of these groups that I would absolutely say that you should have, I would probably have to say that the Centurion from Magurn is my favorite less than $50 knife, along with the Robust from Morocniv. For the next, you know, from 100 or 50 to 100, I love the Mini Caviso. I think it's awesome. and I absolutely love the Frontier Trapper. Is a great little knife to have on you. As well as this Bush Baby, because this is actually, even though it's high carbon steel, it's super easy to sharpen, and it's just really good all around the campsite. Really love it. And then for the next range up, what do I like for $100 to $150? Honestly, I think that the Hogue Deca 2 just knocks it out of the park. And then for 150 to 200, obviously the Waypoint. I think it's probably the best knife that I'm showing you today. And then the upwards of that, of the 150 to 2 and above that I showed you today, I have lots of favorite knives, but above that, I'm just gonna have to say, where did it go? I'm blind now. Oh, it's underneath here. The Pulsar, just phenomenal. Absolutely love the polished DLC and the colorways on this. I just think it's a phenomenal knife, and it's just so practical and yet so sexy, just like me, just like Sharp Ends. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you think that this content means a little bit to you and you enjoyed it and you want to support it, all you got to do is click the link down below for my Patreon, or you can click the membership button for YouTube. You can also like and subscribe and leave a comment. That's awesome. Thank you so much. And if you did not like this content and you made it to the end here, then maybe you should tell an enemy. Maybe they'll like it and they'll like and subscribe. That would be awesome too. So thanks so much, guys. And I'll see you guys next time on Sharp Ends. Bye-bye now. Pose my knives for a picture at the end here. What are we going to put in here? Yeah. Oh, does this look good for a picture at the end? What else do I want to put in here for eye candy? How about, yeah, I guess that's good. All right, cool. Let's take that.